Hi everyone. Welcome to our second session. As you know, that we've started doing these live sessions. We did one on PrepDNA about a month back. This time we decided that we should do this session on NEET PG 2021, especially because it got delayed. And we were getting a lot of questions from many doctors that how do we deal with this delay? When is the exact date? How do we prepare? How do we revise? What should our new strategy be? And using PrepG, PrepDNA, deep revision, several things that we have on the app effectively. So we thought it's a great topic, a very timely topic. Um, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to share my screen. Give me a moment. Let's see. All right. I hope you can see my screen. So what we're going to do here is talk through what we did was leading up to this session, we got the questions from you, that what were the questions on your mind. And we literally got like thousands of them, right? And what our team did was to take them up and see what were the common questions. And over 90% of the questions had like commonality, and we put them together into these three buckets and we have these lists of questions. And again, this is still quite a lot, but what's interesting to me is that many of you are asking pretty much the same things. And so we have selected the few that truly matter, and these are the ones we selected. So what we're going to discuss today, how we are going to run this session, is first we'll start by answering your questions, and there are these questions over here. And then Gautam, my co-founder, is going to join me, and he's going to go deep dive into PrepDNA and deep revision and how do you do that for NEET PG 2021 effectiveness. Okay, so the questions I'm going to try to answer in the next few minutes is your question about NEET PG 2021, what's the expected date, change in pattern, etc. Daily practice and revision plan, what should it be? How should you deal with it given the change in dates? How many people keep asking this question, like there are too many questions on pre-PG, when do I really get done? So I'm going to try to answer that. There's also this thing around our question bank and how many repeats were in INI-CET, how are we dealing with clinical? Those are evergreen questions that keep coming up, so we should talk about that. Then, one pattern I saw this time is so many people asked about motivation, mental energy. So uh, we I'm going to talk a little bit about that too, because that's just so central. It's perhaps the most important thing at this stage, to have discipline and mental energy. And Gautam can also chime in a little later on that. So that's our agenda. So let's get started. Um, Before we start, this is a question on every premium user's mind. Will premium users get an extension? We've always done this. We will do it again. It's going to be you are going to get an extension to whenever the exam date is, whether it happens early in March, mid-March, later in March, in April, whenever it happens. So yes, you're going to get an extension. And of course, we've got new premium plans coming up for NEET PG 2021 too, that you can see on the app. And you have to, of course, at the same time, I know starting early next year, there'll be so many people preparing for next. So we'll have plans for that. Anyway, the first thing, getting to the elephant in the room, NEET PG 2021, the expected date, right? And I just put a screenshot of the NMC PDF out here, highlighting a couple of places. The key point here is that NMC is saying that it is because of the delay in when the interns finish their training, it makes sense to delay NEET PG. so that they are still ready for a July start date. I mean, this is the summary. You can go and read the whole PDF, but this is the summary of it. Now, one thing I wanted to tell you is that anything beyond this PDF that anyone tells you is just speculation. So now you know that the date is in March, April timeframe, right? One thing you'll notice is this March, April timeframe is similar to the next, what we are going to have next year, right? Like 2022 next is going to be in the March timeframe. So it's kind of aligned with that. So I do expect it's going to be in the March, April timeframe. That's all I can tell you. Now, once you have this information, what's on your mind? How do I prepare for it, right? So you have to decide on a revision cycle, okay? And you have to decide on a revision cycle with all subject weighted by the number of MCQs on it. Focusing, of course, on your weak areas in each one of those subjects. You know, pre-PG, number one thing we tell you is focus on your weaknesses. We said this in the last session. Gautam mentioned this last session that it is so important to focus on your weaknesses because weakness gives you the highest leverage. If you are 90 on something, increasing by 5 units is very, very hard. But if you are 40 on something, you can go up to 70 or 80 with relatively less effort. So pre-PG prep DNA helps you identify those weak areas. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So target early March. Keep in your mind it is early March and make revision cycles. Say that, okay, I'll take a month of revision and okay, when you get to, you do a couple of revisions by March and then you realize that you have more time, make another, if you have 20 more days, make a revision cycle with proportional effort put on subjects by the number of MCQs in each subject and do it like that. That's the way to do it, and that's the way you'll have the edge because the worst you can do is sit back and relax at this stage. Or time mil gaya, let's sit back. No, don't do that, right? Keep on task. If you treat this as an opportunity, and important thing is practice MCQs during this time. If you just have to keep to the schedule, okay? So another question over here that I will quickly answer is that what about a pattern change? Again, all that's going to be, anything will be a speculation. Keep in mind, there are going to be more clinical questions. It's expected, it's a trend. That trend is only going to increase a little bit. So keep that clinical question piece in mind. But apart from that, the pattern, the number of MCQs per question is going to be according to the prospectus. Okay, they are not going to change that. Okay, so I'm going to keep going on this. This is just to give you a highlight, like this is on one of our blogs and you can read it there. But you can make revision plan that are 40-day revision plans, 20-day revision plan, 6-day revision plan. You can do any number. You can make revision plans that are totally flexible, which still cover all the subjects. The key is don't ignore any subject. Do all the subjects, focus on weaknesses, and Gautam is going to talk about how to use deep revision for even your strengths. So do that. But if you have, when you get to know when is the exact date, you can do more planning around it. But for now, make like a 30-day plan. It's as good as any, and right, and keep executing on it. Keep doing multiple revisions. You can get this on our blogs. Okay, so it finally quickly comes down to you have decided on how am I going to have, like, how am I going to study on, say, the next 30 days? How do you execute every day? The rubber hits the road on what you do every day, right? It's not, there's always this thing, you make a plan and you are happy and then you sit back. The execution happens every day. Don't take your foot off the pedal, right? Keep the acceleration high, right? Like you've got extra time. You're not alone in this field. You're competing against others. So keep your acceleration high. Set a daily goal, 15 minutes. Every day, say like, okay, this is my hours of study and practice. These are the topics I'm going to study based on PrepDNA. And my target proficiencies, I'm going to go from here to here. Set a target for yourself. Then every day focus on effort. All you can do is, the Gita thing always comes to my mind, that karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadarjanla. You can do the effort. That's all you can do. That's in your control. And I recommend like something like this Pomodoro technique. You can use other techniques. These are focus techniques that you do like 25 minutes of focus work and 5 minutes of rest. 25 minutes of focus, another 5 minutes of rest. You imagine you do 20 such high focus efforts of MCQ solving, reading your weak areas, how much difference you have made within a day, right? Use PPG daily and deep revision. The daily deep revision focuses on your weaknesses. It will just get you in your mind. It will train your mind to get rid of your weaknesses. How do I know this works? It's because every person we have worked with who has followed this method has been successful. Not one person that we have worked with, like, there are doctors we work with every year, just to, improve the product and understand how we can help them. They've all been successful. And then take the daily test, because pre-PG daily tests, as you know, are unlike what you get there are tests by other apps in the market that will make very difficult tests for toppers. It's their idea is to catch the toppers and select the toppers and find out who are the toppers, so that they can give them free subscriptions and do marketing. The daily test should be aligned with the what you actually see in the final exam, and that's what PPG's daily test does. And then at the end of the day, this is where your discipline comes in. Monitor your progress. Number of hours. I plan to do these many hours of effort. Where did I get to? I plan to do these topics. Where did I get to? I planned this proficiency I'm going to get to. Where did I get to? Right? Do that every day. If you make that bigger plan and schedule daily like this, it's just going to be, there's no question in my mind you're going to be successful. Okay, so getting to just PrepDNA, going to keep beating on this because it's so important, that this is the PrepDNA at a subject level, right? And you see multiple topics over there. On the left, they are the grades. What I call them the grades because you've not covered them very well. You practice these quickly and see where you stand. Then there is a whole red zone in which you've got reds and deep oranges, right? This is where you are like below the 40th percentile. These are the ones you got to read notes and improve yourself to, but keep practicing them too, right? You have to do both in parallel. And then in yellows and greens, you have to selectively even choose the ones that are your weaknesses, because that's where you can improve a lot. Pre-PG is the only one that gives you even go down to the subtopic level and see which subtopic is weak. Figure that out and improve it, right? Now here the question comes up as PPG has got too many questions, like, all the way to like 80,000 questions. Like, how do I do all of them? And the answer is simple, right? Like, and doctors ask me, like, when am I done? When am I done with the topic? You are not done with the topic until you are yellow or green. You are not done with the topic until you're yellow or green. If you are at green, then you are done. You can come back and do a deep revision on it later. But reality, until you get to that stage, just because you have covered all the questions in like some question bank with like 50 questions in a topic, that doesn't mean you're done. Your proficiency is still low. So make PrepDNA your master. Use PrepDNA to figure out what are your weaknesses and keep working on it till you get to yellow or green or dark green, right? Um, I think that's there's a lot more that by way of real example Gautam is going to cover later in the session, but let me keep going for now. Just another point that comes up always is like how many questions are repeated from pre-PG. We have seen consistently over 90% questions are repeated from pre-PG in any test. Like, we've not done it for the latest INI-CET test, but what we hear back from doctors who have taken the test is that there's just so many repeats from pre-PG. It's always like, it's all a matter of we do the analysis, we always find this. So this is one such analysis, and you see, people will tell you, like, this is the example of marrow, which tells you that there are, what they say, that they've got 240 odd repeats from their question bank. But if you go deeper, what they've got most repeats are from explanation or some answer in notes or things like video reference, right? Like that's what they answer. How can you, if you are reading an explanation, how do you know how much you are retaining from that? How do you know whether you have got it or not? If you get a question wrong, if you don't get it, or if you have confusion on it, you bookmark it. And PrepG tracks when you are getting it wrong. But how do you know in an explanation? An explanation is like reading a whole book, right? You do not know. Of course, you'll recall some of it. It's important. Like, don't stop reading explanations on PrepG or any app. But your recall rate and explanation is a fraction of your recall rate of an actual question. And the fact is that PrepG has most repeats from the actual question bank. These are strong matches. Like, pretty much you read the question, if you've solved the question and you've done it right, you will get the same question or a similar question in NEET, and you'll be able to solve it. And you'll see it's more than double for Marrow or any other app. And that's the power of PrepG. That's the power of practice, right? Like, you can study videos anywhere, right? But when it comes to practice, PrepG is the master. Then there was this question on strike rate for INI-CET 2020, and wanted to highlight a couple of things here. You see this thing on the left. This is what we got from one of the doctors after the test. He said that he felt like from one of our mock tests, there were real questions coming up. Now, I don't believe that most of the questions were from our mock test, but it is that feeling. We've, like, time and time and again, we have doctors come to us that they say that, sir, I was sitting in the test and I felt, ये तो मैं pre-PG का exam लिख रहा हूँ. There's a video on it. You can just check it out sometime on our channel, on our blogs. They say that I'm pretty much feeling like I'm writing a pre-PG, and then that makes you calm down. And it's like writing the test in pre-PG. It's like you will be writing the exam as if you're writing the test in pre-PG. You'll just be so confident. That's what's important. Then what you see in the right is somebody who got in the top 100 ranks, and it's from Nepal, rank 2 from Nepal in the from the foreign quota, and top 100 in INI-CET. And he basically said that for all practical purposes, pre-PG's questions were more aligned with, especially the easier questions, are the ones that help you perform better in the exam, right? And he mentions the importance of PrepDNA and like how he used PrepDNA as his method for improving on his weaknesses, right? This is a consistent story, but I just wanted to give it to you as an example. In fact, we are so confident of the story. Just a quick time check. Like, we're just so confident of the story that I have no doubt in my mind we can get you selected. That we are going to start. We cannot do it for NEET 2021, but for next 2022, we are going to start a selection guarantee. If you take premium plan, if you follow the method that we tell you, you will get through. It said you'll be selected, and if you don't get selected, we give you your money back. Nobody else offers anything like that, because we are the ones who we are absolutely confident, because we've seen it over and over again, and the time is right to start a selection guarantee program. So we'll be launching it very soon. I know it doesn't apply to most of you, but I'm telling you just to tell you how much confidence we have in our method, right? If you do pre-PG practice well, I'm confident you're going to get selected. Okay, so I'm going to actually stop sharing this for a moment and focus more on, I'm going to focus a little more on telling you about a couple of other things. You don't need to see a screen for that. The first is around clinical. There's always this question of the importance of clinical. PrepG has the biggest clinical bank now on any online app, right? We are close to 20,000 questions now. It's going to soon be up to like 25,000 questions. The thing I always emphasize is like these questions are not hard. These are lengthy questions, not hard questions. So what is the skill you have to develop? If you have actually practiced, like this was the thing that we heard from the previous NEET test. He said that, yeah, I know there was clinical tests, but finally they were like pre-PG questions. All we had to do was read a little more. So what is the skill you have to develop? In fact, in this previous NEET, actually, even the clinical questions were not very long. Most of them were not. They did not have a, but it's going to increase over time. You know, in next, it's definitely going to increase because they are giving you more than double the time to do the test, to do the question. There's only one reason they give you more time, because it's going to be a little harder, and it's also going to be more text to cover. So the skill you have to develop is reading comprehension. So what have we done? Each one of our tests, we put clinical questions by the weightage of what we expect in based on the previous NEET. And the second thing is we have started a clinical endurance test. That's not going to be a test that you'll ever actually get. But when you get to the third section in particular of NEET, you are going to start seeing more clinical questions. That's when you need more endurance, right? Like you have to train yourself to start doing those kinds of questions. So always keep in mind that keep doing the clinical endurance test and keep doing the daily tests. What else was on my mind? Yeah, so coming to the last topic, and then I'll hand it to Gautam. The biggest thing on my mind at this stage is first, discipline. You gotta have discipline, right? Like if you lose out on discipline, competition has got over you. On the other hand, this is an opportunity for you to turn it around and be stronger than others, right? You can be much better than others if, while others have started relaxing, now you work hard. You work hard, much harder than anyone else, right? Keep Do it as if the test was early in January. Keep preparing as if the test was in early January. And when you get there, start another revision cycle for another month, right? When you get close to March, okay, the test still has, perhaps it happens late in March, start another revision cycle for 20 days, right? That way you are always on the edge, always working hard, and always close to becoming stronger and stronger. Make yourself stronger. That's discipline. The second thing is motivation. And you know, all of us have these doubts in our minds. Gautam and I were talking about it yesterday. I have had so many doubts about myself, and you know, we are not doctors, we are technologists, right? Like Gautam and I both went to IITs, and when preparing for not just those exams, even today as an executive, there are times when I sit in a board meeting and I doubt myself. You have the imposter syndrome sometimes, right? Like there is an inner critic inside you that comes up and says that, hey, uh, you are not well prepared. You cannot do it. And how do you do that? You cannot fight those things with logic. You just have to have that calm down and have the conversation in your mind and say that, hey, you know what? Nobody's perfect, but I'm going to do my best and I'm going to be the best prepared. So have that conversation with yourself. There'll be also things that will come to your mind that is like, I'm not good enough. Answer that again. Answer that in your mind that nearly everyone feels like that. I don't know anyone, any successful person who does not have insecurities. And if you have insecurities, it's better for you because then you work harder, right? So the mental balance and discipline, if you do nothing else, try to maintain mental balance and discipline. And if anyone is trying to destroy it for you, whether be it a friend or someone in the family, shut them off for at least this time, because this is one of the most critical times in your life. It is so important for you. It is what you do in the next few months is going to determine your future. It's unfortunate that's how things work in India as far as these tests are concerned, but you know that's reality. So work on that. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand it to Gautam because we should get to the bulk of the session of like trying to understand how you can use PrepDNA daily revision to prepare better. Gautam?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. So I'm going to project you. Great.
Hey guys. So thank you, Arjun, for taking them through really what we stand for and what really we focus on. What I'll be doing here is like I'm trying to, my goal here is to really explain them why this whole thing works and how to really use it properly. Right? There's like, I'll put it this way. Everything, selection, whatever we do has a process. And in order to excel, we need to do certain things right. My best example always comes down to cricket. Everyone plays it. And if you really look at how cricket comes out, you'll see that a lot of people know how to play well. They probably know how to play a shot well. But when it comes down to doing it in the game, in the fraction of a second, they fail. And that's why they are not the top cricketers. But there's a way to it. There are coaches, they will tell you exactly what to do, how to practice, how to do certain things. Every great cricketer is one of those who has practiced like crazy. He has listened to what his coach has said religiously. And it's not just for any cricketer. It's like pick any athlete. These are the guys we can always go back. We can always go back and see that they have listened to their coaches and then they have practiced like crazy based on what their coaches have said. So having said that, let me project my screen and see if I can, where is the application I wanted to share? Give me a second, right there. So what I'm doing here is like, first thing, I'm showing you your forgetting curve. This is not invented by us. There are many researchers who have worked on it. And the forgetting curve, if you really look at it, every single revision that you do of the questions that you made mistake on or of the areas that you are on, it will get flatter and flatter and flatter and flatter. There's another interesting thing about it, is the subjects where you are stronger. The subjects where you're stronger in your proficiency, your forgetting curve is flatter. Subjects where you're weaker in your proficiency, your forgetting curve is steeper, right? So it's like more like red than any one of these green curves. You need to understand this piece. Without understanding it, nothing that we do makes sense. Full stop, right? So nothing that we have here will make sense if you do not understand this piece. This is what you need to understand. Is red one is the weaker you are in your subject, the more you are towards the red forgetting curve. The stronger you are in your subject, you are more towards green. It is simple. You probably have been doing practicing or doing preparation the normal way, the way everyone else prepares, who give pretty much equal weightage to all the subjects. And then you, when you come on pre-PG, you see that your weaker subjects are bad because your forgetting curve in that area, because of lack of interest, because of a bunch of other things, is much worse than your stronger subjects. This is where I want to start. Now let's go over and take a look at. What we had done is we had taken up 3 students here, and looked at the PrepDNA, and I'm going to talk about them, like what is it and how do I see that and what is the issue with the preparation. So I picked up this first user's PrepDNA. You can see there's a lot of green coming in, and you can see it's been going up steadily. It's all good. So in fact, there are a few things that I always do when I look at PrepDNA. I look at this thing, it looks good. It's improving right now. Go and take a look at revision after a second when revision loads up. 31, which really means a lot of questions here. He's doing daily revision. Awesome, really good. Cannot be any better. Second thing I see is the number of questions in deep revision, and then I'll also go back on workout just to see how many questions have they really done. Now, if I'm looking at this user has really attempted around 30,000 questions on our app. Not much more than, but around 30,000 questions on our app. I go back on deep revision, and deep revision has around 20,000 questions in it. So if you don't go any deeper, right now you see that out of 30,000 questions, when this user has first attempted on the app, he had made mistakes on around 20,000 of them, right? It's a huge number. But then you again come back to say, okay, if he's really getting 33% only 33% correct, how the heck is he going on so much green? It is simply that he's now revising those mistakes over and over and over and over so that he's correcting them. And you can see initially a lot of practice, not much of movement, and then suddenly went up and then again changed the strategy, and which is why it's much more flatter. So remember those important things, which I said. Revision you always have to do. And I can come down and you always see this graph. First time when you see a question, your correct ratio is much less. Now it's much better than what it used to be long time back, like 6-8 months back. It's much better right now, but this is what you see here, right? When you do a 3 days revision, it is high. Now, when we go through other students too, we'll see the huge improvement in 3 days revision. And whenever I say that, I just really know that when these guys were really doing the questions, they were doing very methodically, very slowly. They were trying to remember every single mistake they have done. This particular user may not have done it in that depth, but that doesn't matter. He's still progressing significantly because of the revisions he is doing. So I like that. Now, two things. In fact, one very important thing that I always look at is this graph, easy. Easy is still at 82% correct. I can't emphasize enough. If you need to do anything you want to get out of the session is focus on easy questions out there. You have to be around 90% to be successful. And if you are at 90% easy question correct, don't even focus on moderate, hard, or whatever. Just this thing will give you enough base to get selected. Everything is a result of getting easy questions correct. It is not because you focused on it. It is because you understood all the basics very well, right? So I hope you get that point. That is very important. And when I'm looking at this student, that is what I see. Now, there was one more interesting thing I found when I was looking at more detail about this student, which is I'll go and take a look at it and I'll share it with you. So what this student is doing, he like if you see, he's not practicing like crazy, and I don't complain too much about it as long as he's building PrepDNA and everything for it. So again, a lot of revision, not practice. But one thing he's always doing is revising. So, but anyways, coming back to the original point I had, he's doing a very deep, focused revision. So you see ophthalmology here, and now. So he spent 4 days in ophthalmology, one of the weaker subjects that he had, and made it good. And you can see it right up here. Let's see, I haven't gone and seen that. Okay, ophthalmology, right? So in this case, it probably didn't went up. It's hovering around, but he spent a lot of time here. Most likely, in that particular, the way he prepared, what he lacked in this particular preparation, even though he spent 4 days on it, as he did not focus here. We do not have right now methods to get how many questions did you spend here in recent past. We will add it at least for our own diagnostics, but I'm pretty sure he did not do something like this. Go and practice, or he did not do that piece. And we can go in deeper, and these graphs don't really reflect anymore at that level. So important point, really big subject within ophthalmology, important topic, not practiced singularly. This is one mistake I see everyone make over and over. I cannot overemphasize this. Use topic level. It will tell you exactly which area you are weak in. You cannot overdo it. Just do it. So that's the story of the student. Overall revision, really good. I like it, right? He's consistently focusing on subjects. I like it. He's focusing on the weaker subject, even better. But again, even that subject is not enough, because as we see, his weaker topics were not fixed up. And I'll tell you that the reason I can say that is, if you have a weaker topic and you read the notes about it and then you really practice on it, your proficiency improves very fast. And I can see it's very difficult to keep a topic in red if you're really focused on it. It's very difficult to do that. So that is here. Anything, Arjun, you want to add here?
No, I think you covered it extremely well.
Right. I'm going to jump on another user. Give me a second. It takes some time for me to clear things up. Yep. So I'm now jumping on to another user. Right. He started recently. He's been improving consistently. And remember this, that everyone has strengths and everyone has weaknesses. Doesn't matter how much you do. But you see, he's going up very, very fast, consistently. Now, how is it that the previous user was flattening out versus he's not? And the reason is right here. You see this one. Accuracy. After a month. You know what? This is after a month, 86%. What does it mean? Means even if you have prepared now and you are at a particular marks level, even after a month, you are retaining 90% of it. All the questions that you have seen today. This user, I don't know who is, but if you have something like that, this is either you are focusing in detail of every single mistake that you made, or you just have like God-given really good memory. It's one of those two cases, but I would assume he's spending a lot of time going through revision, making sure things, and we'll go and check that out too. So when you see these kind of things, this is exactly what we are going for. Going back to a forgetting curve, you want to be here, the last one, where you hardly ever forget. Our revision schedule will make sure you get on that if you are doing daily revision and deep revision at the right times. You will get on this last forgetting curve. That is why we are so confident that you will get selected if you use us the way we want you to use. Right. So this is the story of this one, right? Now, when I go back and I'll just go and refresh this page to see. Right. So when I go back at this student, so really good progress. So I said, okay, this is awesome. It is going up linearly, which we don't see too much. What is it that he's doing? And what I found here is very, very interesting, to be precise. And I'll show you what's going on there. This student is preparing very different way. Every single day he's picking up a subject, going deep, revising it, going to the next subject. So maybe sometimes 2 days, but he's cycling through subjects very fast, like surgery. Previous was focused on pathology, going over surgery, biochemistry, and some pharmacology and everything. Again, SPM, good amount of work. Again, going back through now one of the things if I'm looking at this student, what I would ask him to do is add more focus to it when he's going through certain things. He's preparing one subject, but not using PrepDNA for that particular picking up what he needs to do. And I think he can also probably afford to do it because his PrepDNA is very much balanced out. If you look at it, there is no extreme greens here and no extreme reds here. So with that background, he may probably be doing okay. I cannot really say he's not doing fine, literally because the balance is there. Right here, it's like kind of a bit of oranges, but greens are still there, and here is a bit more greens, but the balance is exactly there. And if only thing I can really help him do is, like, I would say, please spend a bit more time on these topic levels. Just make sure these reds, because of your really good way of preparing, you will get these things out. Right, that's not at all a problem there. But again, you can see he's hovering over to 90. I love it whenever I see these numbers go up, and to be precise, we'll pick up one of the topics. Let's see the last one that he had picked up. Can we go in? Again, 87, very high numbers, very high numbers. I'm really, really hoping, though he has not picked up some of the topics, some of these deep reds, focus on them, very easy to get fixed. In fact, if I'm the student, I would just do that. go over, spend some 15 minutes, 20 minutes on these guys, and you are done with these guys, these topics. No issues with them, right? Very easy to fix these red ones for this particular student. You should just keep doing that. Really good. And now I'm going to pick our final student that I had looked up today. Again, to be precise, these are some names we got. We just pick at random. I do not know most of the folks I'm presenting right now. So I haven't talked to any one of them. So just if there's things are not, if you are one of them and you need to talk personally, you can ping me. But I do not know exactly what you're preparing. All I'm saying is, but just by looking at PrepDNA and your history and your progress, I can make some sense out of it, and I can say, is it good or bad? For this user, I say it's really good because his revision is like. Also, you can see every single question coming out of here is going through this revision loop, right? I can't emphasize enough. Like, this is one thing I'm trying to do is I'm not able to emphasize enough. That the more you revision, the question only exits a revision loop when you get it correct twice. I'll repeat it. The question only gets out of daily revision when you get it correct twice. That is very important thing. We need to really make sure that every mistake that you made on the platform, you have learned from it. And only way to do it is do daily revision consistently. That will just make sure it happens. So now this is coming in my way. How do I get rid of it? Okay. So essentially, think of it. We make sure first mistake you made it here, second mistake you get here, third mistake correct, and then once more we want to make sure that the question has been correct. So let me do the final one. We are really running on edge of the time. Sorry. Okay, so everything is looked up good. Let me go back. Is it the same user? No, yeah, it's the same user, I think. I did not clean up things. Right, so we have picked another, like again, so he's getting very green, really good. Some oranges there, but awesome preparation, right? He keeps doing it, he's going to be really successful. But most important thing for me to really come back and down here and show you two things. He's like, remember these deep greens that I talk about, they are just representative of how good your fundamentals are. Everything is a result of it. Just because your fundamentals ends up being really good, as a result, your moderate questions will be more correct and the hardest will be more correct. And then why I always keep talking about easy ones, because 80% of students will get these questions correct. Anyone who has studied, 80% is not overall, but when I say 80%, anyone who has done a bit of preparation for NEET will get this question correct. It is such an easy question. That is why it's an easy question. And you cannot afford to make more mistakes than 95%, 90%. Focus on them. Every single mistake you make on easy questions, you have to really just go over and say, what did I just do? What did I miss? If you are one of those guys who want to prepare through notes, go ahead, open your notes again. And make sure, how could you make this mistake? And then you see when this thing starts getting correct. These are easy questions. When they start getting correct, things will start falling down. Other things will start getting correct too. Second thing is, again, as good with every good student, you will see they are picking up on daily revision. I cannot emphasize enough. Already really good, 70% correct. Many people have daily, last 3 days, 70% correct. He is obviously very green. He's really up there, 70% correct on first attempt. But if he makes an attempt that's mistake, he will go again and try it again and get all of them correct with very high accuracy rate. In fact, this is very interesting. If you see, after 4 months of seeing a question, he's retaining 90% of them. And literally it starts right here. None of these guys that you see with 4 months very high, they are not doing 3 days. In fact, because they are doing these 3 days sincerely, they're retaining it much more at the end of 4 months. I'll repeat it again, because they are doing daily revision sincerely, their deep revision, which is what this last 4 weeks and all those things come up, is very strong. So formula is simple. Practice as much as you can. But the things that you have to do before practicing is complete your daily revision. No excuse to it, which is why I say always do it first, because that has to get completed of that day. Then you can go and practice as much as you want to, but complete your daily revision. Open the subject that you want to practice. Even for the strongest guy like this, I'll just pick up his weakest subject. Oops, he's not even premium prerequisite. Right, so I cannot go over and look inside it. But he's preparing very well. He's using this thing. He's most likely than not even using deep revision, right? But because of the kind of practice he's doing, he's really going up there because of 3 days revision cycle. So premium or not, deep revision is really good if you can do. He's already so good, probably he may not need it, but if I were him, I would have gone ahead and checked on. In fact, let me go and check on the previous. Yeah, we have seen the previous persons. PrepDNA. So, but I would have checked on a topic level and see how do I prepare at topic level, right? Can I improve these things? How do I get rid of these oranges? Remember, questions will come from yellows and oranges and all these other places. Nothing is going to be for free for you. And it just tells you how many areas, if questions were going to come, you will not score as well as the areas where if questions were going to come, you will score very well, right? So that's it. In fact, we still have 17 minutes for Q&A, I suppose. But I hope you get the point here. The meta point is daily revision. Look at it. In fact, I'll go back to the previous user just so that I can talk about something.
Hey, Gautam, it will be helpful to talk about. I'm hearing an echo, but. Helpful to talk about how what goes into deep revision, right? Like what makes deep revision special? Because I think people understand PrepDNA better now, but I don't think they understand what's there in deep revision.
Okay, so that's a really good question, Arjun. So, okay, I'll tell you what is there in deep revision. Hopefully I can clarify it right now. So, the biggest thing about deep revision is following. When you have done a practice, you have mistakes in areas. You have made more mistakes in areas where you are weak. You have made less mistakes in areas where you're strong. That is true for everyone. Now, what does deep revision do is it picks up your mistakes, and not just your mistakes, by the way, to also pick up questions that will like your mistakes from the same area and overemphasize them. Right. So now you understand why we keep on saying deep revision. For the stronger subjects, all that we are trying to do with deep revision is focus a bit more on your weaknesses from last time and try to practice it more so that on this forgetting curve, when you're practicing again and again, the curve is getting better and better. But the whole tech behind deep revision is we look at all your mistakes that you made. When you make mistakes, in fact, let me go and refresh it just to tell you a bit more. Right, so that's done. Let me refresh this thing. Right. So when you make a mistake, let's say in surgery, we just came here, there are these topics up there. And so if you had made mistakes more here, more here, more here, by design, we will go over and pick more questions like the questions that you made mistake on and give you them in your deep revision. So what's happening is this is no other tool does it. No other app does it. No other tool does it. No books does it. No revision. It's like auto bookmarking. As you're making mistakes, we are kind of auto bookmarking your whole syllabus and saying where you're weak and where you're strong, and we'll focus more on weak and we'll keep focusing on weak if you're focused on that subject. It's as simple as that. So now that you understand what this deep revision is all about, when you do it, you are just really saying, yes, when I practice enough questions here so that now we have a map of where you're strong and where you're weak. And now deep revision from that map is picking up more questions from your weaknesses and giving it to you. Right? As simple as that. So if you have done a good amount of practice, the better practice you have done, the better the deep revision is going to be. Because we know and we really know what exact pattern of your mistakes and your weaknesses in all the questions that we have. And to give you an idea how we really look at it, every question that we have in our database, for every question, we have its sibling questions. And these are the questions that we say that are very similar to these questions. And it could be very similar, as in 95% similar, it's like different wording of the same question, or it could be 85% similar, which is the same basic concept, same kind of answers. But again, it's presented in very different fashion. So this is the tactic that we are using behind the scenes to say, if you made a mistake on this question, then we may give you a very similar question first to say, if I were to really do a slightly different wording, would you still get it? And then because there's third question still out there that you haven't really practiced, we will try to bring it in your deep revision to say, if you are getting a good, is this third question also really good? And then if you make mistakes, daily revision will going to pick it up and make sure you really remember it by the time you let that question go. So it's really all three of these things working in tandem that is helping you improve on a daily basis, right? So when you do practice, what the first thing when we always say is like, do a real good practice, focus practice. And why do we do that is it helps us build a map of that subject to say, where is your weaknesses, where are your strengths? So if from a terrain perspective, you can think the mountains are your strengths and valleys are your weaknesses. And we kind of make something like this for that subject, right? Now that you have done this, we will use this map that you have done, and this is PrepDNA and everything is coming on top of that map. That is a representation that we are showing you for you to understand it. But also this map has now been then feeding into our deep revision, which is why it's premium, to say, can I using this map and your mistakes give you a set of questions that will help you fill in these valleys? So that's what it is. Do a really good, the better practice you do, the better the deep revision is going to be. And the daily revision is really all about saying, whatever I have touched, I'm committed to remember them by the time exam comes. That is what daily revision is doing. It's going to repeat that question till you really remember it, and it will only exit it once you have done it correct twice after 2 days. So that is very simple, very, very simple. I hope you get the concept there. And concept is all about forgetting curves. It's all about based on these things. Revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, revision 4 gets better. Doesn't matter how you start, but through number of revisions that you do through deep revisions or through daily revisions, we will make it strong. And that is the engine that we have developed, no one else has, and we feel really proud about it. So yeah, so Arjun, that's the big thing I can talk about here.
That's great, Gautam, and that's what I think it's not very obvious to people, the technology that goes behind all this, and we don't do the best job of communicating on the app how things work. So I thought that would be helpful. The key point, that one of the things that Gautam said here is that revision is a continuous process. You've got to keep doing revision continuously. And what PrepG does is gives you a way to do continuous revision. Every day, do daily revision of all your mistakes. Go and do deep revision regularly, right? Like that's it. And again, the point is that in our history, we've never seen anyone fail if they follow this process. So just keep following that. In the questions, there were a couple of questions that people asked about the amount of time they spend on PrepG. My simple point on that is that it's variable, right? Like PrepG is a practice platform. If you are doing practice on PrepG, whether you have to see in your PrepDNA, if you are in deep red on something, then maybe you need to go back and see, like as Gautam said, read your notes on certain parts of it, right, to strengthen some of the concepts. But if you are anywhere over light orange or yellow or green, or those areas, all you have to do is practice more. Really, right? You guys are doctors, like how much more important is practice than theory, right? Like how you get good in something and when you do practice. That's what PrepG allows you to do. So the answer is variable, but towards the end, I mean, we'd see that spike on the app at this stage. that every time when we come close to the exam, the amount of time people spend on the platform increases a lot. That means they are practicing a lot. So if your competition is practicing a lot, you better be doing that too. Anything to add, Gautam, on that?
No, it's essentially all that we focus on is practice, and I cannot overemphasize it. And I'll also say one more thing. Most students don't understand the power of what we are proposing. And it's not, if you are not able to get it, then you are not alone. There's a lot of skeptical ideas behind it. The reason we say it so strongly now, this year, not previous years, is because of the results we have gotten in the last 3 years. And I always kept on saying to Arjun, saying, you know what, I want to build a platform where if any students use it properly, they ought to get selected. And what do we do? And we have been working hard at it. And we have come to a place where we feel very comfortable about it. And that is what we are sharing with you. What we are sharing with you is a simple formula, how your brain works. We have created this platform that is focused on making sure that we can train your brain for this exam the best way possible. Most of the research is not done by us. So I'll give you an example before we close out. Right, and this is a real example done in CMU, so Carnegie Mellon University here. What they did is following. They asked the student to remember random digits. So if I were to give you any random set of digits, let's say 348241232, right? 0. I'll just add those numbers. Every second I give you a digit. How much can you remember? As it turns out, before this particular experiment, people thought you could only remember 5 to 6, maybe 8 digits, right? Which is why they say that's why the phone number is 8 digits or 9 digits. That's your limit and all that kind of stuff. And they said that is if you're doctors, you probably have read it, that we have a short-term memory. And that is the register size of short-term memory. We can only keep that many things in short term. So this is a psychologist, well-renowned psychologist. He has published this book called Peak. He has many, many examples out there, but I'm picking this example because this is the biggest example that really influenced me. So he went in with this student and he started doing the same exercise. He will give him digits to memorize and go up. So the thing is this, he will go do 8 digits. The student will now repeat 8 digits. If it's correct, he will go to do 9 digits. The student will repeat 9 digits. If he is correct, he will go up 10 digits. The student will repeat 10 digits. If he's wrong, he will come back to 9 and keep doing this step. As it turned out, after 15 days or so, the student was able to increase his memory till 13 digits, and then he got stuck. He just could not make any progress. He was trying to revise, like most of you guys are doing in the normal exam, revise, and he wasn't able to move up. And then suddenly, I think around 2 weeks time period, he changed the way he started storing things. He changed the way he started practicing. And suddenly from there, from 13 or so, he started moving up to 40, 30, 40. He got stuck around 40. He changed it again. He tried to train his brain to try to remember them again. He went all the way up to 80. By the way, this technique, which was developed in 1970s, when doctors thought it was impossible to remember that large numbers, there are competitions now and people remember around 500 random digits in that competition today. You and me cannot remember even 10, they're remembering 500. It is all about how you train your brain. This is what we have done here. We have made a platform that trains your brain for this exam to get selected the best way possible. And trust us, use us the way we ask you to use, you will be successful. So yeah, that's all I had to really emphasize what we are doing here.
Great. Thank you, Gautam. I think that just the final word I'll also speak besides the fact that Gautam has mentioned that there's a lot that has gone into creating what we have here, and what breaks my heart the most is when people don't follow the method, because it's just up to you. It's like Gautam has mentioned this very simple method, right? And discipline and things are up to you. The platform is there for you. Just follow it. And we are starting next year, we are going to put our money where our mouth is and give you guarantee, selection guarantee. But as for this year, just work hard on it. And again, I'll close with the fact that discipline, mental energy. Keep your motivation high and imagine that the test is happening still in January and work hard towards that. And then imagine that it is happening in mid-February. Then imagine it's happening in mid-March. If you keep revising each time with that kind of a cycle in mind, you'll just conquer it. Just keep your tempo high, and good luck. Anything else to add, Gautam?
No, that's it. Be at it. Be sincere. Be disciplined. Bring up techniques that you can find to keep your discipline up there. Everyone has different ways to do it, but be disciplined. And follow what you are recommended. Even if you don't follow 100%, try to follow as much as you can. It will really improve your chances significantly.
Great. Thanks. Good luck, everyone.
See you guys. Bye-bye.